The Chain Gang podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the Chain Gang, the hottest show on the blockchain and your number one guide to the cryptocurrency revolution. Uh, Today on the panel we have Brian
That's me.
and Roman. Say hi, Roman.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And and I'm Keith, and today we're going to be going over the news in the Bitcoin world, or in cryptocurrency in general. We don't really have any boundaries, so what's new, Roman?
I don't know. What's new, Brian? I'm still trying to set up right here. Yeah.
I'll tell you what's not new. Restrictions on personal freedoms. I mean, can we talk about the Ulbricht case? You know, Silk Road. You guys want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's very fascinating.
Yeah, and there was so they decided he was guilty, and I don't know if can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you sound good.
Mhm.
Okay. Uh,
Yeah, so that was interesting. Right off the bat, they come in with the defense comes in with the argument that, hey, it's not actually Ross. He just sort of made the site as an experiment, and then decided to hand it over, which was they basically took that route because they knew it was undeniable that he created the Silk Road. I guess that's my theory, and the judge struck that down and wouldn't allow them to bring up that argument again in the trial because of some legal reason that I don't understand. Maybe because it was sort of just intended because it was intended to distract the jury and get them sort of mislead them. Because
Well, I
I
mean,
think it's pretty clear that Ross Ulbricht was running the Silk Road from the evidence. It seems. What do you guys think?
we just don't know when he handed it over to someone else, and the well, I don't know. I mean, did he put hits out on people's lives? I mean, I can't really tell how much of it, like when he handed it off and when someone else took it over. Is anyone like with you know, good observational skills been able to figure out if he did any? I don't know. None three of us are legal experts. What do you think, Roman?
Speak for
Yeah,
yourself.
I don't.
The what? Sorry, Roman. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that I don't know if there's enough
Objection.
information being released.
Yeah. Go on.
You know,
Yeah, they
so
they did release the
it's hard to
logs of the
judge.
chats that Ross had with well, it was basically that a murder for hire plot that he formed with an undercover agent that was claiming to be the North American uh, kingpin of selling of like the the Hell's Angels or something. I don't know. But it was really interesting the conversation that they have. You could tell somebody commented that it just seemed like both of them watched too many movies and they were going back and forth, saying, trying to strike a deal about what to do with this guy who was a liability to DPR Dread Pirate Roberts, and the Dread Pirate Roberts was going to pay the Hell's Angels to kill this guy, or I don't know if it was the Hell's Angels, but the guy in the chat logs, his name was Red and White, and there was the guy who worked for them was apparently a liability to the DPR, so DPR was going to pay them some exorbitant amount of money to kill him, and you could actually see this transaction on the blockchain, and it's some $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. So it's interesting.
Mhm.
So what do you guys think of all that?
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I I feel like this is the kind of thing you can't just hear in sound bites. You have to like go and like read. You have to have been keeping up with this the whole time. I haven't really been keeping up with it, to be honest. So maybe you guys know more about it than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same here. I wasn't keeping up too much because all kinds of information is pouring out. But yeah,
Yeah. Well, so okay. Well, so in other news, the apparently Overstock has changed their plans with their Medici stock market, their crypto stock market. Brian, why don't you tell us about that?
Well, it's like you said, they're not going to be focusing on counterparty. They're going to be focused on several different open source technologies. They fired a few of the original guys who started up with counterparty. They appeared to have parted on amicable terms, and counterparty. Well, we don't really know how big its role is going to be with the new project. On an unrelated note, I saw Doge Party's kind of been falling on the wayside. The people who invented and created Doge Party, which was supposed to be a counterparty type software for the Dogecoin blockchain, they decided that they're not going to focus on Doge Party. They're going to focus on their other projects. And apparently, from the very beginning, they said that they started Doge Party just so they could work on these new assets they were going to create with Doge Party. And its value dropped dramatically, like 50% or something in the past, less than a week. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, Counterparty.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about Doge Party was that in Counterparty, it becomes so expensive to make transactions. It sort of adds up, and it takes 10 minutes each time you send an asset for it to show up in your wallet. So Doge Party was great because they have this really fast block time. So it made something like Counterparty, or Doge Party, it made it more user friendly. So that's too. I hope they come back because I mean I hope Doge comes back. How's Doge doing these days? I don't hear about Doge too much.
Well, it's still at the top of the market capitalization. I think the much transaction, very coin, that whole comedy routine is sort of wore out its welcome a little bit, but the coin still seems to be up there. It's one of the highest volume in trading, and they merged with they did merge mining with Litecoin earlier a little while back, and the Litecoin Foundation has some sort of big news they're announcing today. So who knows? Maybe we'll see another script coin being merge mined into that little orgy they got going on there. But I think Dogecoin's doing just fine as it is. I don't really own any Dogecoin or keep track.
Yeah.
But should we talk to our guest here?
Yeah. So we're going to be discussing the topic of Bitcoin stability in terms of price, because we all know Bitcoin can fluctuate up and down, and we have Dave here joining us, and he knows a little bit more than we do on the subject. So.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Yeah. So hey, thanks for joining us, Dave. Where are you joining us from?
I am actually in Nicaragua right now.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, hey, thanks for coming on. How's the weather over there?
Sure, it's slightly cloudy, nice and warm. It rained for about 30 seconds yesterday, which was nice because it's the dry season. So we always like when it rains. And during the wet season, we don't like it so much when it rains. But still, the rain is good. So yeah, I'm in Nicaragua.
That's awesome. That's great. So so what can you tell us about price stability? Is it desirable in Bitcoin, and is it achievable?
Yeah, well, I think price stability is desirable, and really stability of a price is a relative thing. Over 1,000 years, I would guess the only thing that has been stable, a stable currency over a period of 1,000 years, is probably children. And then if you take that down to 200 years, maybe gold would work. You take it down to about an hour, then Bitcoin works.
So you're telling me that children have traded at a steady rate for thousands of years?
Yeah, I think so. When you get together with another family and there's a deal made and the children get married or whatever, then that's created that created the Habsburg Empire. All the incest between English and French kings and all that stuff that went on over the past couple millennia.
So do you feel that Bitcoin needs incest to become stable?
Probably not.
Okay, good.
I don't think that just stability. Actually, I think incest destabilizes the value of children.
Oh, I see.
Because you get wacky ones and yeah.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So what is it going? How will Bitcoin become stable?
Well, I would guess that a stability comes from having a lot of people who are willing to sell near the current price and a lot of people who are willing to buy near the current price, so that when any of them needs to convert their Bitcoin into something else, they'll do it at around the current price. Well, what is a price? It's a measure of value in U.S. dollars. And what is a more fundamentally stable concept, a U.S. dollar or a Bitcoin? I think a Bitcoin is a more stable concept. The dollar has been losing purchasing power, not all that steadily, but it's been doing it for about 100 years, and it's slowly approaching its intrinsic value as a little rectangle of cotton with some green ink on it. And when that happens, then what are we going to be left with? Gold and silver and Bitcoin and other stuff that's valuable.
Yeah. And that's an argument that people often make about Bitcoin becoming stable, is the fact that gold has been around for so many thousands of years, and if you look at its price in dollars, it's constantly fluctuating.
Right. Yeah, and that brings up the question: what's being unstable there? Is it gold or is it the dollar?
Yeah, I don't know.
The dollar.
Yeah, probably. So it's the question of what can you, what is its purchasing power? Like I heard you could buy a man's suit for about an ounce of gold. You could do that today, you could do it 100 years ago, and you could do it 500 years ago. A good, decent man's suit costs about an ounce of gold. So that says gold's price is pretty stable.
Okay.
So the more people we get doing what I do, I'm a Bitcoin dealer, and I'm making too much money to do anything else. And for everybody listening, it would be nice if I had so much competition that I wasn't making that much, so then I could go back and do things that I like more, like programming. But as it is, I'm making a lot dealing Bitcoin, and I want more people to do that. And the more people who are dealing it, the better the competition, the harder it is going to be to make money doing it. But you could get 15-year-old kids doing it if they know how to make sure their counterparty is being honest. Then they don't need the higher education skills and the strength of a construction worker. They can be the guys out there converting Bitcoin into currency for the world and making their little piddly wages doing that, and that would stabilize the price of Bitcoin, and we all would be running around with Bitcoins instead of dollars eventually.
Would you say there's been a high demand for Bitcoin in Nicaragua? Is that why you're so darn busy?
No, actually, I don't think there's any demand for Bitcoin in Nicaragua, which might be. I've been here twice, and last time I was here, I tried to download the Bitcoin client, and the website that I was going to get it from was blocked. So there might be some efforts there to prevent Bitcoin in this country, but there's no news. I can't find anything about Bitcoin being illegal in Nicaragua, so who knows?
So you've just mostly been dealing in Bitcoin in San Diego. Like Stephen Michaels, our last guest, is a local. Has he been your main competition? You guys have to duke it out for business?
Yeah, we regularly meet to have a verbal and physical match. I'm kidding, but we just chat.
You guys have
Yeah,
your turn.
we well, he, we're answering different segments of the business. He's I guess you guys discussed his ATMs. Is that right?
Yeah, previously when he was on, yeah.
Yeah, so he's looking for customers who basically don't want to deal with a person. They just go and do their transaction, they pay their extra percentage, and they get their Bitcoin, and it's always there, it's always available, and it's always under $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
But I do in-person trades, and so it's they're two different markets. So we're not really competing with each other. And when we do, it's like, yeah, if he's willing to take a little less than I am, then he gets the business. If I'm willing to take a little less, then I get it. And I like that system. It's good for the customer, and it keeps us on our toes.
Yeah. So backing up a bit, what I've heard some arguments that Bitcoin is volatile, and that's actually a desirable quality. I mean, I know that you disagree with that. So, I mean, why is stability desirable? And how
I have
stable?
how stable is it?
How
Well,
stable should it be?
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, in terms of purchasing power, it should be deflationary,
Yeah.
opposite to the dollar. A good currency is a store of value, and over time, the same store of value should buy more simply because technology keeps making it possible to spend the same amount of resources and make more stuff because it's more technologically advanced, right?
Yeah.
So deflation is natural, and that's how the value of a store of value should change. It should have more and more purchasing power over time. So a stable Bitcoin price, if you want to measure it in dollars, well, then you have to back out inflation and deal with the effects of government malfeasance, etc. But in terms of, let's say you want to buy a gallon of milk, and right now that costs, I don't know, 1/100th of a Bitcoin, or maybe 2/100ths of a Bitcoin. And so it would be nice to see that slowly drop from 2/100ths down to 2,000ths, maybe continue dropping after that. So that's how stable I think it should be. And why should it be stable? I'm not. Yeah, well, a stable currency is more useful because people can hold on to it. You want your savings, and over time you want your savings to be useful to buy stuff. The value's going up and down all the time. Then when you're ready to buy, you might just get caught with a low-valued currency because it's volatile. Then you can wait a while and then buy, but buying is sort of, you got to do it when you got to do it. So stability is good on that front. But
Sure.
volatility can be good for, I don't know what to call it, a kind of arbitrage through time. So I actually have a trading bot which watches the price and tries to keep the amount of Bitcoin I hold to have a steady value in dollars. So if the price goes up, then my Bitcoin value has gone up, so I have to sell some to bring it back down to the amount of money I've chosen. And if the price drops, then I have to buy some. And I just let the trade bot do that for me, so the price goes up and I sell a little, and the price comes back down and I buy it back. Well, I've bought it for a little less than I sold it, so I made a little profit. And I could keep doing that. And if I had a...
Oh, sorry, we lost you. Okay, so it seems we're having technical difficulties. So, Roman, have you ever traded Bitcoin?
Yeah. Of course.
What was your experience? Oh, sorry, Dave.
That's
We
okay.
can't.
It was bad.
Okay, it was a bad experience. So, Dave, how do we become? I think we got you back here, Dave. So, how do we become traders like you, and so we can take vacations in Nicaragua?
Wow. Okay,
I'm just-
I think you can go to localbitcoins.com and put up an ad to buy and an ad to
Yeah.
sell. And if you put good prices, then you'll get people asking you to both buy and sell, and then you can make a little bit of profit. You'll also get people who pretend, and then you lose money to them, and so you learn how to protect yourself from that. If you visit my profile, which is the how to Bitcoins, make an account. Tell me you're still with me.
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so once you have an account, visit your profile, and you'll see your username in the URL for the profile page. If you change that username to mine, which is DSCOTESE, and hopefully these guys will write it down somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
then you can see my profile, and at the top there's a link to my newsletter, which and the archives. So you can go read the archives of my newsletter, which explains how you can avoid scammers and my attitude toward them, and how I think they're self-defeating. They screw up their own lives enough that we don't need to worry about punishing them because they don't really understand how life works. I don't want to attack them though. They're broken and they need some help to figure out what's wrong and fix it. Anyway, read my newsletter and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Definitely. So yeah, my experience with trading, I've been through local Bitcoins, but I always do the in-person meetups because I'm just too wary of scammers. I've heard too many horror stories of these scammers ripping people off. So I know I know they can be pretty clever. So the likelihood is pretty high. But meeting people in person is great because you meet some interesting people, and you talk about Bitcoin, which I love to do, obviously. So it's really nice, but it's definitely not profitable to go and meet people, and you really have to charge a premium if you're going to be driving around. And what do you think of these? Have you heard of these decentralized exchanges that are coming out? Like, for example, BitSquare.
I have not heard of BitSquare. I have heard of decentralized exchanges. I haven't looked into them much, but there's, I guess it's based on multi-sig transactions.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds reasonable and feasible, and it's a great idea. You just find a mutual friend, and then they can facilitate a trade, or a mutual stranger. But then you don't know if the mutual stranger is really the other guy's friend. So, I think most of those exchanges find somebody for you, and it's using a random algorithm. And I would hope it's open source, and so people can see that it's random, and then they don't have to worry about collusion.
Yeah. So great. Anybody have any more questions for Dave?
So, well, you said you had a programming background, and you like the fact that you would like something like that to be open source so people can investigate it. Have you ever delved into open source codes and had a close look and seen, this is accurate compared to what it claims to be?
I have not actually looked at the code. I always plan to, and now everybody listening that I said, oh yeah, I did that. Yeah, I haven't actually looked at the code, but I know that a lot of people have, and that comforts me because even the what I consider a false flag operation. Remember when the Twin Towers were taken down by some airplanes and probably some explosives? There's been leaks, and that leak facility, WikiLeaks, people shining light in dark places. It's a natural thing to happen, and so. I would expect to see any open source project that makes a claim that it's wrong. Well, it's going to get fixed because it's open source, and somebody else is going to come in, even if there's no bad intent. Some newcomer is going to come and look at it and understand it. Oh, this is a problem. I think I'll fix it. Now, sometimes people don't look at the code; they just mess with it. I mean, they use the software and they find a weakness and they report that. In fact, I think the Tor project suffered. Well, suffered is a relative term. The NSA sponsored Tor project development, and people using Tor found weaknesses and reported it to the development team, and the development team was fixing the weaknesses. And the NSA got angry about this because they want those weaknesses in there so that they can exploit them. That's beauty, and that's what I trust. I believe that happens all the time. So that's why I can trust the Bitcoin clients without looking at their code. I still plan to look at their code anyway.
Yeah, I just trust that someone smarter than me has looked through it and determined that there's no problems. I am currently learning how to read C code, so I eventually am going to take a look at it and try to grasp it. But it seems like quite a learning curve.
Keith, you were at a meetup with me, and we met. I think his first name is Rich, and he said that he a book.
Yeah, Rich. We had Rich on the show two episodes ago. Rich Apodaca.
Yeah, Rich Apodaca. That's right. Yeah. So I wanted to get his book because he does a lot of the explanation that a coder like me could get by reading through the code, but having it in a narrative format like the book he's writing would be much better. So you can see how it's supposed to work, and then if you want to go in the code and see if it actually works that way, I would assume it does. But like I said, I like the code. So, but I would recommend his Apodaca, Apodaca, I think.
Yeah, his book is called Decoding Bitcoin.
There you go.
And definitely, it's really fascinating when he explains Bitcoin. He does it very well. So, I'll definitely get that book when it comes out.
Great.
So Dave, one more question: Do you consider yourself an anarchist, a crypto anarchist, or how would you describe your political views? Yeah.
I'm a voluntarist. I don't believe using coercion to control human behavior is wise. It backfires often on the people it's supposed to help instead of on the people using it, which is horrible. And it's how we get these governments that just wreak havoc. And they don't know that they're wreaking havoc because they don't get this. They don't get the return signals. Economics goes into that pretty well about how when you're a government and you collect taxes and you spend the taxes to do good, well, the people paying the money, which is the taxpayers, they can't say, oh, I didn't get what I wanted, so I'm not from them again. That's impossible. Well, that's the main signal that.
Could you, Dave? Could you repeat that? We didn't catch that. The main signal. All right. Looks like we lost Dave temporarily. Technical difficulties. So that's fascinating.
Well, Keith, you consider yourself a crypto anarchist, right?
Yeah, I think I fall into that definition because it's pretty broad. Basically all it means is that you believe that through cryptography you can replace some centralized structures. So so I think we lost Dave. That's too bad. Dave, if you could still hear me, thank you so much for coming on the show. So I think I fall into that definition. So yeah, I'm a crypto anarchist. It sounds pretty cool too.
Yeah.
It does have a nice ring to it. I guess I would consider myself a nihilist because I think every form of governance has some sort of flaw, especially flaws that we haven't yet discovered or haven't become apparent due to a latency in technological breakthroughs. So I just sort of be like, I'll just do what everyone else is doing. I've stopped trying to figure it out. But I do like the fact that Bitcoin does create a trustless, peer-to-peer, decentralized asset or currency or system of storage for online data. I think it's pretty amazing stuff. So Roman, what's going on with you? Have you been doing anything Bitcoin related recently? Maybe buying some children on the black market, which they haven't fluctuated in value too much, as we've heard. So you probably still get a good price for those.
Yeah, I don't know. That's not really my market, but yeah, I've been trading a little bit here and there for a long time. Been
What does
Trading
everyone
children,
here
right?
use? Yeah.
not chilling.
What does everyone here use? I've been mostly been using Coinbase. What about you guys?
Uh,
Well, yeah, Dave, how do
I use
you
local bitcoins.
local bitcoins only? Wow. And what
Well,
advantages?
once you have established a relationship with somebody through local bitcoins, if you have a email or phone number or whatever, you don't need the site anymore. So then it's person to person. And I have
Ah,
person to person clients who are not in Southern California. We've developed trust relationships, which is a really beautiful thing. Um, and what I think what surprises a lot of people is that the number of dishonest people is a lot smaller than we are led to believe.
that's nice. I like that. I would love to trust somebody someday.
Yeah, well, there's a strategy you can follow to find people you can trust. You just have to put a price on it. Pick a random person and say, "Oh, I'm willing to lose X amount of money to find out that I can't trust that person." And so then you go to that person and say, "Hey, can you hold on to this amount of money for me till whenever you're going to see them again?" And then you give it to them and you see if they have it when you meet again. You could
I
do a
like that.
bit. You can do a Bitcoin deal that way too.
But that also reminds me of a scam some hackers had. They uh, they said, "Hey, send a Bitcoin and we'll return, or send any amount of Bitcoin and we'll double it. We'll send it back."
Sure, sure.
So
Yeah,
they knew
you
that
never
people
want
would
to be
probably test it out with a small amount, so they would send back the small amount, and then when they sent
right,
an actual significant amount, then
right.
they kept it. So
Sure, sure. That you never
yeah,
want to be on the creating end of, on the receiving end of that offer. If you create that offer for somebody else, then go for it. You could find out they're trustworthy. But if they're presenting it to you, then yeah, you're setting yourself up for that kind of a scam.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I was reading an article from Wired this week about the exit strategy, the exit scam. I forget if that's what it's called, but basically, people on the Silk Road and other similar trading networks would, they build up a good reputation, but at some point they'd want to get out of the game. Maybe they feel like they might get caught by the police at some point soon, and so they would keep accepting money from people because they have this good reputation of delivering their drugs or wares or whatever, and then they would just stop sending out their drugs and keep collecting Bitcoin until eventually people were just like, okay, this person's gone forever. It's kind of a weird one because uh, well, I guess you could do the same thing on eBay. You could build up a huge amount of trust and then sell like a $10,000 diamond and just be like, well, I'm done with eBay. That's that. Of course,
Yeah,
there
you
are
can do
buyer
that with credit
protections.
card companies too.
Exactly.
My policy on local bitcoins is now if I can't hunt you down, I can't trade with you. And it's for that reason. There was a trader on there called Copter Cam. Anybody who wants to can look him up. If he's listening to this, dude, it would be nice if you, yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
we're coming after you, Copter Cam. Yeah, I don't know if he did anything, but okay. Great. So, thank you so much for joining us, Dave. It was a pleasure to have you on. I know I said you'd only be on for a few minutes, but it was such a pleasure to have you on, so we kept you a little longer. So, thanks
Yeah,
for
Cool.
that.
Yeah,
very
I had
interesting
fun.
stuff. Yeah, thank you
Thanks.
for coming on. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on again too. We really appreciate your volunteerist perspective.
Good.
If you choose to volunteer to come back.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sure. All right. Thanks.
Thanks for
Thanks,
coming
Tom.
on. Have a good
Bye.
time.
You too.
I don't know. Have
Okay.
you guys ever been to South America? I haven't been to South America.
No, my
Yeah,
sister
I go to
lives in.
South America.
Oh yeah. Where'd you go?
Um, does TJ count?
I think that's Central America, Mexico,
Oh yeah, I've been
or
to
maybe that's North
Cancun.
America. I
Does
don't
that
know.
count?
Oh man, you guys.
What about Cancun?
I
Okay.
mean, I didn't think we'd have to do geography lessons before doing a podcast, but maybe we might have to go back to the drawing board. Come on. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, my
what?
sister lives in Chile, and she lived in Bolivia, and she enjoys it. So can't be all. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things. It's
Yeah,
a big
and
place too.
well, and they're sort of I think was it Venezuela that's got sort of the problems with its currency. The any place down there that's got volatile currencies or like weird buying restrictions because of socialist mandates is ripe and ready for Bitcoin to come in and save the day. So
Yeah,
I like that. I think I think I was speaking with Dave at one of our meetups, and he said that he was working on trying to get Bitcoin ATMs down in South America. Maybe that's what he's doing now. Maybe he's talking to people about that opportunity.
yeah, that would be great. I mean, yeah, it seems like Bitcoiners rejoice in countries failing currencies, uh, which I mean is because we believe it's or a lot of us believe it's inevitable. So, like for example, Argentina is another one where Bitcoin is actually kind of gaining traction there because their currency is failing, and so Bitcoiners keeps suggesting that they, you know, or promoting Bitcoin. I know a lot of people have gone down there and promoted Bitcoin, but the problem is that Bitcoin has been doing terrible this past year, so it's really like not much better than their own currency.
Yeah, well, but I think if an entire country were to embrace Bitcoin, it would do quite a bit for its value. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought about that, but it's they did like a haircut on people's savings accounts in Cyprus not that long ago. If all of a sudden the entire country of Cyprus decided, hey, we're gonna do Bitcoin instead, fuck you Eurozone, we'd see quite a jump in value. So I like that notion.
Well,
Uh,
I kind of look at Bitcoin as an international currency
yeah,
instead of having borders
Yeah, yeah,
defined.
yeah, and I mean I was so excited about Neo and B, that company in Cyprus. I didn't really understand what they were doing, and I should have took the time to understand it better. I invested like $20 in their stock, and that was very disappointing because that ended up falling apart for one reason or another. Um, I think the main reason was one of the websites they were using, Bitfunder.com, they were using to sell their shares was shut down by the SEC. So that kind of um, lost uh, they lost a lot of money there apparently. But that was so disappointing because I saw the commercials and they were promoting it and they made it seem like they were going to make Cyprus this Bitcoin haven. So shame on you, Neo and B.
shame on the SEC. They're supposed to be investigating all those weird squiggly lines caused by these high frequency trading algorithms that are, you know, operating in the gray areas of the law because technology laws haven't caught up to the technology. Uh, but instead, they want to shut down people who are trying to raise funds independently of any financial or government organization. So, yeah, SEC stands for stupid, extra crappy people. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't usually say SEC people, but that's officially the full title.
Yeah, back off, SEC. Well, so that about wraps it up for us. We're hitting the end of the hour. Anybody have any last thoughts for our viewers?
Well, I think that we should keep our eyes on those uh, price capitalization charts because there's always something new and interesting going on. Obviously, in like the bottom two, like the bottom 150 currencies, like it's it's hard to those are mostly just altcoins that have lost traction and are dead or dying. But there's always something new and interesting going on that's like, nipping at Bitcoin's heels, even if it never will overcome Bitcoin. We've seen some interesting developments with Stellar and with BitShares. So I've always got my eye on that, and again, we're living in the Wild West. It's exciting.
Mhm.
Roman?
Have you guys heard of any status updates on sidechains?
I know that they're still working on it, and it seems promising.
Have you heard of
Whatever.
Factum?
Yeah, Factum is they use immutable ledgers to store information or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
What is the story with Factum and sidechains? Do they work together?
Uh, Not that I know of, but could be possible that some system that combines them all could exist in the future of some sort. Create the Internet of Money and value storage of information too. Mhm.
All right, we'll leave you with that, everybody, because we got to run 12:02. So look on the horizon for the new exciting 2.0 technologies. Thanks for coming on, Brian and Roman.
Mhm.
Signing off.
Always a pleasure.
Next time.